I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house. You've got your car keys in your hand. The lights go out. Power failure. You can't see a thing. You stumble around in your living room and you drop your keys. And you look around for a moment and you realize that you're never going to find them in the dark. But you look outside and you notice that the street lights are on. So in your mind, a light bulb goes off. I'm not going to sit around here in the dark and grope around looking for my keys when there's a light on outside. I'm going to go out here under the street light and I'm going to look for my keys. Why are you laughing? This makes a lot of sense. So you're out here and you're groping around and you're looking for your keys and you're looking and looking, and your neighbor comes along and says, "What happened, Wayne?" "Well, I dropped my keys." "Oh, well, I'll help you look for them." And the two of us are now down here looking for our keys. And looking, finally he says to me, "Excuse me, but where did you drop your keys?" "Well, I dropped them in the house." He said, "You mean to tell me that you dropped your keys in the house and you're looking for them out here in the streetlight? Doesn't make any sense." And I said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense to grope around in the dark when there's light out here." Now you laugh and you think how silly that is, but isn't that exactly what we do when we have a problem, a difficulty, a struggle that is located inside and we're looking for the solution outside, someplace outside of ourselves?
If you were raised on blame, it is a habit for you to reach for this excuse whenever you wish to explain why something is not working in your life. You can, for instance, blame lack of prosperity on a lot of externals: your culture, the stock market, politicians, your parents, lady luck, the greed of others. You can blame illness on heredity and the flu season and bad luck or the environment. Your sour relationships can be blamed on your partners, their inability to love you, your upbringing, or your parents. Your personality can be blamed on your parents, or your genes, or your childhood, or your siblings, or your birth order. And your physical appearance can be the fault of genetics, the food manufacturers, advertisers, or the polluted environment. This is potentially an endless list. The alternative to blame is self-responsibility, becoming an inner-directed person. You may not have been taught to consider taking responsibility for the events of your life. But if you are unwilling to discontinue the blame game, you will be unable to initiate your sacred quest. When you are inclined to think that someone else is responsible for your circumstances, take an instant to say a prayer of thanks for the lesson. The lesson is to become aware that you are the one who is experiencing the feeling. You can do this the instant that you recognize yourself playing the blame game. Feel thankful toward those you've let anger you. Give inner thanks for the reminder that the feeling you are experiencing is inside you, not outside you. Say to yourself, "I do not want to be right. I want to know the truth. I want my higher self to rule. No one is to blame for how I am feeling. It is my feeling, and I respect that." These kinds of affirmations will lead you to self-reliance and to the way of the sacred quest. Your spiritual soul will then become the guiding light for the remainder of your time in the now here.
We are in the midst of enormous individual and global change. I believe that all of us who are living at this time chose to be here, to be a part of these changes, to bring about change, and to transform the world from the old way of life to a more loving and peaceful existence. In the Piscean age, we looked out there for our Savior. Save me, please take care of me. Now we are moving into the Aquarian age, and we are learning to go within to find our Savior. We are the power we have been seeking. We are in charge of our lives. If you are not willing to love yourself today, then you are not going to love yourself tomorrow. Because whatever excuse you have today, you'll still have tomorrow. Maybe you'll have the same excuse 20 years from now, and even leave this lifetime holding on to the same excuse. Today is the day you can love yourself totally with no expectations. I want to help create a world where it is safe for us to love each other, where we can express who we are and be loved and accepted by the people around us without judgment, criticism, or prejudice. Loving begins at home. The Bible says, love thy neighbor as thyself. Far too often we forget the last couple of words, as thyself. We really can't love anyone out there unless the love starts inside us.
Line by Albert Einstein when he was talking to his students about trying to solve mathematical problems and equations. He said, you can't ever solve a problem with the same mind that created it. It's what they call sometimes in management circles thinking outside of the dots or outside of the box. Getting out of your comfort zone. Getting out of looking at things the way you've always looked at them. And having a different kind of an awareness. I came across this quote not too long ago. Moving away the clouds does not make the sunshine. It merely reveals what was hidden all along. The sunshine, the sun is always there. And you don't make it shine by just taking things away. There's something inside all of us that is hidden. And it's the ability to, I call it rewriting our agreement with reality. It requires a new kind of awareness, a willingness, if you will, to see yourself as potentially capable of virtually anything. I've always loved the observation from the New Testament of Jesus, that even the least among you can do all that I have done and even greater things. That within each and every one of us there is this ability to be healers. There's this ability to be able to manifest and attract anything into our lives that we put our attention on. There's this ability to live at such a high level of consciousness that we can transcend our bodies. My internal wiring has always been one of whatever it is that I've got in my life as a problem, that I have to take responsibility for it, but I also have the capacity to be able to change it. And not only to change around what it is that is not working for me, but also to change around what I have been attracting into my life. I think it begins with this this whole idea of being inspired. I've always liked that word, inspired, inspiration, because its origin is in spirit. And then the opposite word is being informed. And so when you're in form, in the physical world, when you're in form, you get information, you get lots of information. And this is what we call the information age, right? So there's no shortage of information. They say that on a little chip the size of your thumbnail, we can put the names and addresses of everybody in the United States and Canada on a little chip the size of your thumbnail. That's really more information, I think, than we need. What we are doing is we are moving from the age of information to the age of inspiration, I believe. And as we move into the age of inspiration, where collectively mankind is beginning to have a collective capacity to be able to think thoughts which empower us rather than which weaken us, which, according to Hawkins' research, up until about 1985 or 1986, collectively, mankind's collective thoughts always produced that which weakens us. And now, in the last few years, we have moved above the level where man's collective consciousness is at least at a place where collectively we are empowering ourselves rather than using force. And as we move into the world of inspiration, we have to understand what that means. And Patanjali had a wonderful observation. I wrote about it in Wisdom of the Ages. He said, when you are inspired, that is, in spirit, and remember, it is in the world of spirit, it is in the world of thoughts where we change, where we go to the place where we create anything we want for ourselves in our lives. So that remembering here, the theme is that you can't solve any problem that you might have in your life with the same mind that created it. So you're moving into a place now called spirit. That which is seen hath not come from that which doth appear. We're moving into the world of the invisible now. When you are inspired, and think about the moments in your life when you've had the most inspiration, inspirado. You lose any touch of fatigue. I have gone and been inspired at moments in my life when I have written for almost 24 straight hours without stopping, without eating, without thinking about sleep. I just got into one of those modes, what we call a zone sometimes, where everything just flowed. When you are in that place, you transcend everything. And you don't worry about whether people are going to call you or not call you. You don't worry about your children. You don't worry about being sick. You don't think about the cold that you might have. You don't think about being tired and how much sleep you'll need. When you're inspired, you're in spirit. When you're in spirit, you're connected to your source. And now what you're doing is you're moving out of the mindset of inform or information, which is where all problems occur in the world of the physical, and you're shifting into the world of spirit.
We all are nervous sometimes, and we're shy sometimes, and we're afraid sometimes, and we don't take risks sometimes, and we're fearful, and we have to be careful, and those are all, that's what it means to be human. And we try to get as many people as we can on our side. So if we can get ourselves lumped with the majority, then we can feel greater. But every great innovative idea that ever happened started with a minority, started with an individual thinking like that. Will Rogers said one time, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, you better reform. If you're thinking just like everybody else thinks, what have you got to offer? What is it that this unique thing, this unique human being that has never existed before, will never exist again, has never existed in this day as it exists, as you do in this day, just like every single day. Not only are you unique on this planet, but every day you're here, you're unique on this planet. Instead of that, we say, how can we get everybody to think like I do? Let's get into majority kind of thinking, you see. And that's like one of the first things to understand, that in order to be, Emerson said it, he talked about conformity, he said, to be a man you must therefore by nature be a nonconformist. And yet we have difficulty with non-conforming people, with people who have different ideas, with people who want to try something different, people who don't accept that we always have to be the way we've always been. We have quite a bit of difficulty with that. Most human beings use about 1/100th of their potential within their brains that it's capable of using. And every time we see somebody who is able to do things that seem so phenomenal, instantly we say, well, that's a weird person, or that's a freak, they must be faking it, or whatever. When there are places in the world where people don't even think pain, they don't even have words. There are some cultures, particularly in Eastern philosophies, where pain itself is not even a part of their vocabulary. They don't even invent words for that because they train themselves not to think in ways that are going to be immobilizing and depressing and so on. And I would work on this when I was working with people early in my career. And one of the greatest things that you can learn in your life is the understanding that as you go through your life, even the people who love you the most are not going to approve of you half of the time. Somebody says, you're a nerd. Terrible thing. I mean, one of the things you have a choice. You say, oh my God, they know. They've discovered it already. And you act like a neurotic. You have that choice. You have other choices as well. The choice to ignore that. The choice to say that's somebody else's opinion. If somebody says to me, Wayne Dyer, I don't like your books. Well, I expect that when you say something in public, when you talk to a lot of people, when you write something, that there are going to be a lot of people who aren't going to like what you say. One of the highest levels, one of the highest places you can get to in your life is a place called being independent of the good opinion of other people. Not necessarily needing everyone to approve of you all of the time. And we ought to have a lot of people out there who understand that, so that when they go through their lives and they run into disapproval, that instead of becoming depressed about that, that you understand that that's a condition. That's what it means to be a human being. I'm saying don't become immobilized ever by what anybody else thinks of you. And when you do, understand that all you are doing is saying your opinion of me is more important than my own opinion of myself. Every time you're down. Every time you're down. That you are making other people's opinions of you more important. Now, a great misinterpretation there is that somehow this is a selfish philosophy. Believe me, there's nothing selfish in that. One of the simplest learnings that all children seem to understand, the very simple understanding that you can't give away what you don't have. You can't give away what you don't have, obviously. You can't give away $100 if you don't have it. You can't give away love for others if you don't have it for yourself. You can't give away success if you don't have it for yourself. You can't love another human being at all if you don't love yourself first. And think of yourself as a worthy person. So that if you want to be a great altruist, a philanthropist, somebody who loves everybody in the world, then you've got to get your own house in order. And that's all I'm saying. Get your own house in order, your own self in order, so that you can become one of those people that have transcended, who have gone beyond simply worrying about how they're going to cope with their lives. It mystifies me sometimes. We all have this little child within us, and all little children know how to be happy. All little children know how to be self-actualized, fully functioning, creatively alive. They know how to enjoy their lives. And then somehow they lose it, somewhere along the way. And as we get to be adults, we forget what we had. It's the whole theory of whether a glass is half full or half empty. I mean, it's always half full to me. Always half full. If you believe that it's half empty, it's the same thing as saying people are basically evil. And that's a basis for a big theory in psychology. That's what psychoanalytic theory is really basically all about, is that each one of us have an id somewhere within us, and that's an untamed monster. That's something that we have to watch out for, and it will capture us, and it'll destroy us, and it's that all of us have this evil creature residing within us. I can't buy that. I just can't buy that. I look at little children and the way they are, I don't see it. I refuse to think that, even though I know that there are people who behave in evil ways. I believe basically that within each one of us is a reservoir of love and beauty and appreciation and so on. And that we've often lost it in the name of trying to get ahead of the other guy or trying to be successful or whatever. People who know how to enjoy their lives are never a burden to anybody else. They just want to be left alone. Just quit bugging me. Don't always be looking over your shoulder. Don't be monitoring everything that I do. Stop telling me how to live. Stop telling me what to do. Stop trying to live your life through me. Highly functioning people know how to live their lives, and they're never a burden to anybody.